I'm Jo Meacock, the Curator of British Art at Glasgow Museums. Welcome to Pod 4, the painting store at Glasgow Museums Resource Centre, or GMRC as it's more commonly known. GMRC is a pioneering storage and research facility on the south side of Glasgow, just 5 minutes from Nitshill train station, so it's easy to get to. It opened in 2003 to accommodate objects displays from Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum when it was refurbished. At that point, GMRC had 7 storage units, or pods as we call them, holding around 200,000 objects. However, an extension was soon required with the closure of the old Transport Museum and the loss of its storage space. Phase 2 of building at GMRC began in 2007 and finished in 2009 with 10 new storage pods. The facility now holds over 1 million objects, ranging from paintings and sculpture to engines, ship models, TVs, arms and armour, taxidermy specimens, decorative art objects, textiles, archaeological fragments and world cultural objects. And with the temporary closure of the Burrell collection, it's opened its doors to Burrell objects too. It's an exciting place to work and visit. Under normal circumstances, GMRC is home to curators, conservators, collection management staff, our learning and access team, open museum, archivists, joiners, technicians, designers, photographers, editors and admin staff. It's a brilliant, vibrant place to work, a place of creative conversations and linked up thinking. However, most staff are still currently working from home due to the pandemic. We can't wait to open our doors again and welcome back members of the public, schools, university students, local interest groups, independent researchers, artists, anyone who wants to visit. This is what makes GMRC so exciting and groundbreaking, its unprecedented level of public access. Although a store, it's not closed. It's a place of creative opportunity and learning for everyone. There are daily tours and workshops, school visits, family events, specialist seminars, handling sessions, community consultations, private or group viewings by appointment, student placements and volunteering opportunities. Pod 4 holds around 3,000 oil paintings, about 3/4 of the museum's painting collection. These are works that are not currently on display in Glasgow Museum's other venues such as Kelvin Grove, the People's Palace or Gallery of Modern Art, or out on loan. The collection is world class, of the quality of a national collection rather than that of a local authority. It includes portraits, landscapes, scenes of everyday life, historical paintings, religious and literary subjects, topographical views, still lifes, abstract works, and much more. Pod 4 is an impressive store and usually gains an equally impressive reaction from people when they visit for the first time. The paintings are on rolling racks designed for ease of access, which is brilliant for tours and for curators. The paintings are arranged alphabetically by artist within national and subject groupings, so Scottish, British, French, German, Dutch, other European, contemporary artworks and social history paintings grouped together. There's something for everyone. We think you're going to want to visit. And to whet your appetite, here are a few examples of the treasures in our painting store. This is John Singer Sargent's Mrs. George Batten's Singing, which is fascinating in so many different ways as a late 19th century portrait of an inspiring, mixed-race, bisexual woman, painted by a celebrated virtuoso painter of the day. A painting owned by a famous novelist, which, when purchased for Glasgow Museums, helped raise money for people in poverty. The sitter, Mabel Batten, was a gifted mezzo-soprano singer, pianist, composer and patron of the arts. The daughter of an Irish father and an Indian mother, she married the private secretary to the British Viceroy in India. American society portraitist John Singer Sargent first met her in 1893 and was so impressed by her singing that he drew a sketch of her mid-performance. This painting, dating from 1897, is the result. It shows Batten in an elegant evening gown, lit by lamplight, head thrown back, apparently sounding the last notes of Paolo Tosti's famous song Goodbye. Sargent gifted this picture to Batten, he said, as a tribute of respect from one artist to another. In 1907, after her husband's death, Batten became the partner of writer Radcliffe Hall, author of the lesbian novel The Well of Loneliness. Batten bequeathed this painting to Radcliffe Hall when she died in 1916. It may seem heartless that in 1929 Radcliffe Hall sold the painting to the trustees of the Hamilton bequest for Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum. However, there was more to this sale. She gifted the money, which was matched pound for pound by the government, to the Lord Mayor's Relief Fund for coal miners, feeling it to be in the spirit of Batten, who was always keen to raise money for families in need. She declared, "I hope that by parting as I have done with the thing I value most among my possessions, I shall be able to inaugurate what I may call a gift in kind movement to help the miners." Among the many tours under normal circumstances on offer to the public at GMRC is an LGBT tour, and this painting is one of its highlights. It was also loaned to the National Portrait Gallery in London in 2015 for its large Sargent exhibition. Glasgow Museums is keen to support exhibitions, lending its collection when at all possible, both nationally and internationally. In GMRC, we have a large number of paintings by the famous Scottish Enlightenment portraitist Henry Raeburn, who was portrait painter to King George IV in Scotland. These paintings are currently being looked at as part of the museum's Legacies of Slavery and Empire project. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Edinburgh-based Raeburn painted the Scottish elite. Politicians, aristocrats, landowners and merchants, many of whom were connected with the transatlantic slave trade. This portrait is one of those, depicting Alexander Campbell of Halyards, a well-known Glasgow merchant and society figure. He married Barbara, the daughter of Scottish aristocrat Archibald Campbell of Jura, and in 1787 his family acquired the estate of Halyards in the Scottish borders. He was known as Businessman Sandy, or Sandy Doon, as his family were originally from Doon. An ardent supporter of Celtic culture, he became director of the Glasgow Highland Society and captain of the Highland Sharpshooters. The Glasgow Highland Society commissioned this portrait, which they gifted to the city of Glasgow in 1903. It's a very handsome portrait. Campbell is depicted as a stylish businessman sporting the latest fashion. Raeburn was known for the directness of his portraiture. Unlike his contemporaries, he didn't idealise, wanting to depict the real person, giving a sense of individual character and personality, influenced by Enlightenment ideas about perception, human nature and empirical study. Unusually for his time, he painted directly onto the canvas rather than first making preparatory sketches. His handling of the paint is broad and free. Raeburn enjoyed exploiting contrast between light and dark, and here the sitter's face is dramatically highlighted as it emerges from the shadows. Unfortunately, when it came to the Campbells, there were many shadows. Alexander worked for the family company, John Campbell Sr. & Co., becoming a partner in 1828. It specialised in trade to the West Indies. Their business was sugar and cotton, grown on plantations which used enslaved labour. Members of the Campbell family owned plantations and enslaved people. The family estates of Halyards and Alexander Campbell's 4 other Scottish estates were all purchased from the proceeds of enslaved labour. Glasgow Museums has a blog page on which it regularly posts new research on its collections, demonstrating how the city's wealth was bound up with the slave economy. And a new Curator of Empire and Slavery is soon to be appointed. GMRC is a centre for collections research. There's an archive and library that are invaluable in researching the collection. Anyone can visit and consult its books by appointment. As well as being a centre for research, GMRC also attracts many children and their families looking for a bit of fun, whether toddler sessions, family workshops or school visits. They love paintings of the sea like this one, Along the Shore by Scottish artist William McTaggart from 1904. Sometimes our learning team lays out beach towels in front of paintings like this and gets the kids to imagine they're at the seaside, feeling the sea breeze and hearing the waves rolling in. And McTaggart's paintings are perfect for such sensory experiences, as his works are known for their expressive immediacy. He wanted to capture the changing light and weather conditions, often painting out of doors. He's sometimes described as a Scottish impressionist. He was in Paris in 1876 and 1882 and may have seen works by the French impressionist painters then, or in dealers' galleries in London and Glasgow. However, McTaggart was just as influenced by British painting. For example, the paintings of John Constable, whose painting of Hampstead Heath in Glasgow Museums collection you can see on the right. He was groundbreaking in recording the transitory effects of nature with textured brushstrokes. Like McTaggart, his paintings are full of sentiment, memory and personal meaning. McTaggart was born in Aros on the Mull of Kintyre in Argyll to a Gaelic-speaking crofting family and spent his life painting the Scottish coast that he loved. His works often feature children, sometimes with attached symbolism about mortality and the passing of time. But in later works like this, the real focus is the landscape. The subject, the changing colours, energy and movement of sky and sea. Here the children are almost part of the landscape, the expressive brushwork uniting them with sea and rocks. Another painting, which you can see in Pod 4, in which figure and landscape seem to be interlinked, is this one by Manchester symbolist painter Annie Swinerton, called The Soul's Journey, The Soul's Awakening. Glasgow Museums is trying to address the gender imbalance within its collections, as historically it's collected far more works by male artists than female, partly because male artists were given more opportunities to become professional in terms of training, studio space, representation by dealers, wall space and exhibitions. However, we do have some key works by women artists in our collection, including this large visionary painting, in which the soul is represented as a naked, anguished-looking female figure floating in a rather barren, mountainous landscape. Annie Swinerton was very influenced by pre-Raphaelite artist Edward Burne-Jones and British symbolist George Frederick Watts, who were both enthusiastic supporters of her work. Many of her paintings, like this one, were allegorical. Her bold depiction of the female nude caused some controversy. Swinerton studied at Manchester School of Art from 1871 and then at the Académie Julian in Paris from 1877, which importantly allowed women to study from the nude model, something which was often denied to women in British art schools. In 1879, she became a founder member of the Manchester Society of Women Artists, set up to support women artists and provide opportunities for women to work and exhibit together. She showed at the Royal Academy in London from 1878, but because she was a woman, she was not able to become a member until 1922, when she became the first woman to be elected. She was known as a strong, outspoken woman, but then you had to be at that time to survive in such a male world. Recently, Glasgow Museums has acquired a number of works by female artists, including Sarah Barker, Christine Borland, Jacqueline Donachie, Joan Eardley, Barbara Kruger, Winifred Nicholson, Carol Rhodes, Nikita Sandval, Margot Sandeman and Victoria Morton. Photosynthesis by Glasgow artist Victoria Morton, which you can see here with a detail on the right, is one of two very large canvases, 3 by 2.5 metres, acquired by Glasgow Museums in 2018. The other, Soliton, is hanging in Kelvingrove until it will be swapped over with this one. Morton, who's also a musician, is interested in the way in which colour and form can communicate on a psychological level like music. Her complexly layered paintings are meant to be experienced visually and emotionally. The title Photosynthesis reflects the artist's interest in the science of light. A tree-like form can almost be discerned in the background, but it also neatly reflects the fact that the artist used family photos to synthesise the various parts of this composition, which isn't as abstract as it may at first look. People often ask the origins of Glasgow Museum's painting collection and if we still make purchases today. Many of the paintings in our collection are a result of generous gifts and bequests. McTaggart's Along the Shore was bequeathed to us in 1944 by the Glasgow shipowner and collector William McInnes. He gifted over 70 French and Scottish paintings to the museum, as well as prints, drawings, silver, ceramics and glass. You can see examples of some of the paintings he gifted in Pod 4. Victoria Morton's paintings, Photosynthesis and Swinerton, represent the final two purchases made by the Hamilton Bequest for Glasgow Museums in 2018, bringing to an end over 92 years of collecting for the museum. During this time, 90 works were purchased thanks to the legacy of Glasgow storekeeper John Hamilton and his sisters Elizabeth and Christina. What made this bequest so unusual and exciting was that the museum wasn't just giving a pre-existing collection of paintings, but left money to buy paintings to fill specific gaps in its collection. Through it, Glasgow Museums has acquired significant works by Scottish 18th and 19th century portraitists and genre painters, by British Pre-Raphaelites, Glasgow Boys, Scottish colourists, Impressionists and Post-Impressionists, as well as works by contemporary artists. Here are a few of the paintings bought through the bequest that can be seen in Pod 4. For its final purchase, the trustees were very keen to buy work by a contemporary female artist to increase the representation of women within our collection, and also to buy work by a local Glasgow artist that would have specific relevance for the city. The trustees were delighted to be able to purchase not one, but two paintings by Victoria Morton. They're not only massive in size, but powerful in impact, making a fitting final tribute to such a unique bequest. The paintings in Pod 4 at GMRC are extremely varied in size, subject and time period. It's always exciting to explore, to pull out racks and see what treasures you might find. We hope that when the facility reopens to the public, you might come along to one of our tours or events.